There is this single, seemingly meaningless letter that actually controls like billions of dollars in modern medical billing.
Yeah, it's wild to think about.
Right. And it dictates exactly how artificial intelligence reads your personal health records. But the crazy part is, it's a piece of grammatical technology that has survived completely intact for, 2,500 years.
Unchanged.
Completely unchanged. So today we're doing a deep dive into the source material on medical terminology. We're looking at your medical records to answer one incredibly simple question. Why is the study of the heart called cardiology and not cardology?
I mean, it seems like a trick question at first glance,
Yeah.
right? But the answer actually unlocks the entire system of medical jargon.
Yeah.
Because, we're all conditioned to feel that medical terminology is this impenetrable fortress.
Oh, 100%.
You look at a, 14-letter Greco-Latin compound word on a doctor's note, and the immediate reaction for most of us is just to gloss right over it.
Mm-hmm.
You just assume it's this secret code meant only for people with a decade of medical school.
I know that feeling so intimately. I mean, you're scanning down an explanation of benefits from your insurance company, just looking for simple answers. And instead, you are hit with a word like, I don't know, hepatosplenomegaly.
A classic.
Right, it spans half the page and your brain just sort of short circuits. But our mission for this deep dive is to prove that you don't actually need a medical degree to read those documents.
No, you really don't.
There is a structural code holding all those terrifying words together, and we are zeroing in on one very specific, very powerful little tool that makes the whole system work. The texts call it the combining vowel.
Yeah, and when we look at this combining vowel in the sources, we aren't just memorizing a flashcard or a spelling quirk. We are uncovering this ancient architectural rule that organizes chaos into a highly systematic language.
And the concept itself is pretty simple, isn't it?
Beautifully simple. The combining vowel is, it's almost always an O.
Just the letter O.
Just the letter O. Occasionally you will see an I, but the vast majority of the time it's that O. And its entire job is to be inserted between two word parts in a medical term.
Okay.
So when you take a word root, like cardi for heart, and you attach this combining vowel, the textbooks call that a combining form. They even write it with the little slash, like C-A-R-D-I /O.
See, that little slash always confused me when I'd look at anatomy textbooks back in the day, but I'm visualizing it now sort of like masonry.
Oh, I like that.
Like, think of building a brick wall, the word roots. The cardi for the heart, the gaster for the stomach, the hepat for the liver. Those are your bricks.
Right.
The bricks are what give the wall its shape. They carry all the structural weight of the meaning. So the combining vowel, that little O, is just the mortar.
Yes.
Like, the mortar doesn't build the house by itself. It doesn't hold up the roof. Its only purpose is to sit between the bricks and stop them from grinding together.
That mortar analogy is perfect, really, because it highlights the single most common pitfall students encounter.
What's that?
The biggest misconception out there is that this vowel actually means something.
Oh, sure.
People look at a medical term and assume, very logically, that every single letter must carry clinical weight. They think, maybe the O indicates the severity of a condition.
Right, or like the specific anatomical location or something.
Exactly, or the action being performed. But the truth is, the combining vowel carries absolutely zero meaning. It is not a prefix, it's not a suffix, it's not a root.
It's just the mortar, completely empty of medical data.
Completely devoid of meaning. As the sources explicitly put it, its entire job is purely to serve as phonetic glue. We need it for one overriding reason, and that is pronounceability.
Make it sound good.
Right, because without that little O, you end up with consonant clusters that just collide into an unpronounceable mess.
Yeah.
If we go back to your central question, why cardiology and not cardology, the answer is literally right there on your tongue.
Okay, let's break that down.
So if you take the word root cardi and you want to add the suffix -ology, which means the study of, you are forcing the I or the D to crash straight into the L.
Cardology.
Right.
It just stops the flow of air completely. It's incredibly awkward to say out loud.
Cardology? Well, cardology might look perfectly legal on paper, but it physically clashes when you try to speak it aloud, especially in a bustling hospital ward. English speakers naturally resolve that phonetic clash with a linking vowel. It smooths the transition so the word can be spoken quickly and clearly.
Okay, I see how the mortar works in theory, but if its only job is to make things sound pretty, how do we know when to apply it and when to, scrape it away? Because clearly every single medical word doesn't have an O shoved in the middle of it.
Well, that brings us to the core mechanics of the system. If you strip away all the intimidation, the entire terminology framework rests on 3 golden rules.
3 rules, got it.
Let's look at the first 2, which govern suffixes. Those are the word parts attached to the end of a term, like itis for inflammation. So Rule 1 says, keep the vowel before a suffix that starts with a consonant.
Okay, so going back to our heart example, we have cardi/o plus -ology. The suffixology starts with an L, which is a consonant.
Yep.
Therefore, the linking O stays to bridge the gap. That gives us cardiology.
Exactly. The same logic applies to cardi/o plus megaly, meaning enlargement.
Okay.
The M in megaly is a consonant, so the O stays. Cardiomegaly, an enlarged heart. You need the buffer.
That feels super intuitive. So I imagine the second rule deals with the exact opposite scenario. Like, what if the suffix already starts with a vowel? Do we just stack vowels on top of each other?
We don't know, because that would just create a brand new kind of pronunciation problem.
Right.
So Rule 2 is to drop the vowel before a suffix that starts with a vowel. If we take cardi and we want to add itis, meaning inflammation, the suffix itis already opens with the vowel I.
So if we kept the mortar there, we'd have cardioitis.
Exactly.
Which sounds like I'm stuttering through my own diagnosis. I have cardioitis.
Yeah, the O becomes totally redundant phonetically. So Rule 2 tells us to cut it. Cardi plus itis equals carditis.
Makes sense.
And the exact same mechanism happens with arthur, the root for joint, plus itis. It becomes arthritis, not arthritis.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Hepatitis, gastritis, osteitis. You just drop the combining vowel because the suffix itself is already providing the phonetic smoothness you need.
Okay, I am totally tracking with this. Rule 1, keep the mortar if the suffix starts with a hard consonant. Rule 2, scrape the mortar away if the suffix already provides a vowel. It's a very elegant system.
It really is.
But the sources outline a third rule, and this one treats certain word parts like VIPs.
Yeah.
What happens when we aren't just attaching a suffix, but we are connecting 2 major organs together?
Yes. Rule 3 is the one that trips up everyone, from first-year nursing students to automated billing software.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The rule is this. Between 2 word roots, you keep the combining vowel no matter what, even if the second root starts with a vowel.
Wait, really? Even with a vowel?
Yes. The roots get special treatment because they carry the heavy clinical meaning, and keeping them distinct is paramount.
Okay, let's put that to the test. Let's build a full 3-part word to see these rules interact. Say we want to build the clinical term for the stomach flu.
Perfect example.
We need the root for stomach, which is gastr/o. We need the root for intestine, which is enter/o. And we need the suffix for inflammation, which is itis.
Okay, so watch the junctions here. Between the first root, gaster, and the second root, enter, we have a root-to-root junction.
Right.
According to Rule 3, the combining vowel O must survive, even though the word enter starts with the vowel E.
Okay.
But then look at the second junction between enter and the suffix itis. That is the root-to-suffix junction.
Oh, I see.
So Rule 2 applies there, which means the vowel drops because itis is just a suffix starting with an I.
So you string that all together and you get gastroenteritis.
You got it.
The first O stays gastro-enter because it's standing between 2 VIP roots. But the second O vanishes because itis is just a suffix, and the I takes over the phonetic lifting.
Exactly. You see both rules firing simultaneously in the exact same word. Another brilliant example from the text is osteoarthritis.
Okay, let's break that one down.
Osti/O for bone, arthur for joint, itis for inflammation. The first vowel survives to connect bone and joint osteoarthur, but the second vowel is cut before the suffix, osteoarthritis.
I have to push back a little here, though. I am looking at this neat little math equation, root plus O plus suffix minus O equals diagnosis.
Oh, wow.
It just feels almost too clean. Language is notoriously messy. Does this perfectly neat formula actually work every single time in reality?
You're absolutely right to be skeptical. The rules are a strong default, but you have to remember the ultimate goal, pronounceability.
Which overrides everything.
Exactly. Pronounceability will always trump the mechanical rule.
Yeah.
So let's look at exceptions. First, is it always an O? No. The text gives us the example of anatomical direction. Take the root doors, meaning the back or posterior surface. If you want to describe bending a joint toward the shin, like flexing your foot upward, you don't say dorsiflexion.
No, the term is dorsiflexion with an I.
Right. The root doors simply takes an I as its combining vowel. You literally just have to memorize that as an exception. It's not derived from a math formula. It's just the phonetic reality of that specific word.
Fascinating.
And then we have words that actively break the dropping rule. The classic textbook example is radioactive.
Oh, let's test the math on that one. Radi/O plus active. The second part, active, starts with an A, which is a vowel.
Yep.
So according to our neat little rule 2, we should drop the O because the suffix provides a vowel.
Exactly. The mechanical rule predicts the word should be spelled radioactive, but we keep the O.
Why?
Because radioactive is an incredibly awkward mouthful.
Radioactive, yeah, it is.
Try saying radioactive material quickly. It genuinely clashes on the tongue. So, keeping with its primary goal of being speakable, the system retains the linking vowel anyway, radioactive.
Well, if pronounceability ultimately wins out and the system bends when it needs to, why do textbooks treat it like rigid math? Like, who actually codified this? Did a board of Victorian doctors sit down in some dusty library and draft the laws of the combining vowel just to make our lives miserable?
Not even close. Nobody invented the combining vowel.
Oh, really?
It wasn't bolted on by a 19th century professor for convenience. As the sources point out, we are looking at a linguistic fossil. It is actually baked into the compounding grammar of ancient Greek and, to a lesser extent, Latin.
Wait, so ancient Greek doctors were using this exact same O to build words thousands of years ago?
Hippocratic and Galenic physicians, writing in Greek from roughly the 5th century BCE to the 2nd century CE, built compound diagnostic words this exact same way.
That is wild.
They used a root, a linking vowel, and another root or ending. And they did this because that is simply how ancient Greek compounding worked. It was part of a grammatical structure called the O stem, or the second declension pattern.
O stem, meaning the words in ancient Greek just naturally ended in an O.
Essentially, yes.
Huh.
Words like cardia for heart, logos for study, arthron for joint, the O sound, was a fundamental part of their original Greek shape.
Oh, wow.
So when Renaissance doctors started reviving all these old Greek medical texts centuries later, they didn't just borrow the vocabulary, they dragged the compounding grammar along with it, wholesale.
But if this is an organic ancient Greek grammatical quirk, how did it become this rigid three-rule checklist that modern nursing students have to sweat over during their exams?
That transformation is a uniquely 20th century phenomenon. We have to look at the 1960s, specifically at an incredibly influential textbook by Barbara Cohen.
Okay, what was it called?
It was called Medical Terminology, a program systems approach. Cohen's book popularized a new way of teaching called programmed learning.
How did programmed learning change things? Like, what is that?
It's an educational model where you break complex subjects down into tiny, digestible, multiple-choice steps. Students build words piece by piece and get instant feedback.
Oh, I see.
In this system, the combining vowel rule was taught explicitly as step 1. Medical educators essentially took a piece of ancient organic Greek morphology and simplified it into a rigid checklist.
Because it's easier to teach.
Exactly, because you can't teach the nuances of ancient Greek grammar to millions of healthcare workers. You need something teachable at scale.
That is a massive shift. I mean, we essentially took this beautiful ancient handmade artifact, this organic Greek language structure, and we repackaged it into a modern Lego instruction manual.
That's a great way to put it.
We told millions of pre-med students, put the red brick here, insert the yellow peg, drop the peg if the blue brick starts with a vowel.
It's brilliant for mass education, honestly. But it slightly misrepresents what the vowel actually is. It frames it as an arbitrary spelling convenience rather than an inherited grammatical residue.
Right.
But, we have to acknowledge that without that programmed instruction format, without that Lego manual, we wouldn't have a universally understandable medical vocabulary today.
So if this rule system is essentially an artificial Lego manual based on a dead language, why do medical professionals insist on enforcing it so aggressively across the entire globe?
Well, to understand the enforcement, you have to imagine the sheer chaos of medical terminology before standardization.
Chaos. How bad was it?
Just put yourself in the shoes of an anatomist in the 1800s. The naming landscape is a multilingual patchwork. You might have one specific muscle in the arm that has 5 different names depending on whether you are reading a research paper from London, Paris, or Berlin.
Oh, that sounds like a nightmare.
You have Latinized Greek, you have local regional names, and you have a massive influx of eponyms.
Eponyms meaning like a disease or a body part named after the doctor who discovered it, right?
Right. And that creates a massive problem if you are a doctor in Japan trying to decipher a French doctor's eponym.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
The scientific community realized they couldn't share research if they couldn't agree on what to call the human body. So in 1895, an international group of anatomists met in Basel, Switzerland.
Oh, to fix this.
Exactly. They published the Basel Nomina Anatomica, or B&A, This was the first serious attempt to physically compile all these chaotic names into one consistent, universally taught dictionary.
Wow, 1895.
Yeah, and that effort has been revised for over a century, most notably with the Terminologia Anatomica in 1998, which is actually still the reference standard today.
So they essentially declared, from now on, we are all going to use the same Greco-Latin Lego pieces.
Yep. They didn't invent the combining vowel, but they weaponized it for clarity. They are the reason that the roots and forms taught in an anatomy class in Tokyo are the exact same roots and forms taught in an anatomy class in New York.
I am going to play devil's advocate for a second on the eponyms, though.
Okay, go for it.
Let's take Parkinson's disease. Saying Parkinson's is so much easier for a patient, and frankly for a doctor, than trying to pronounce some 14-letter Greco-Latin compound word.
Sure.
Don't eponyms make medicine more approachable? Like, why do standardization bodies want to replace them?
This is a very live debate in medical terminology reform. Eponyms completely sidestep the combining vowel system, and yes, they are definitely easier to pronounce in a casual setting. But let's look at the defense of root-built terminology.
Okay.
Standardized, root-based terms are self-explanatory across languages. They are the ultimate universal translator.
Give me an example of how the universal translator works better than an eponym.
Well, if I say Parkinson's disease, that eponym tells you absolutely nothing about the actual physiological condition.
True, unless you already know what it is.
Right. It requires rote memorization of historical trivia about Dr. James Parkinson. But if you have a descriptive root-based term, any doctor in the world can break it down.
Because they know the Legos.
Exactly. They know exactly what body part is affected and what is going wrong just by looking at the roots, the suffixes, and the combining vowels connecting them. A descriptive Greek compound is structurally sound medical data. An eponym is really just a historical label.
So the standardized vocabulary is about making sure medical information is instantly translatable and structurally sound no matter where you are.
Exactly.
And I assume that precision is even more critical today, given that human doctors aren't the only ones reading these charts anymore.
Oh, this is where we hit the real-world stakes of everything we've discussed.
Yeah.
Combining vowel errors create genuine, high-stakes ambiguity in clinical documentation.
Because of the computers.
Well, think about the workflow. Every time a physician writes a note, it goes to transcription, and then it goes to medical coding. That coder's job is to turn a written diagnosis into a universally recognized billing or research code, like the ICD codes.
And just to clarify for everyone listening, the ICD codes are the International Classification of Diseases. It's this massive universal numbering system that essentially dictates exactly what your insurance company will pay for and what they will reject.
Exactly. The entire financial backbone of the healthcare system runs on those codes, and those coding systems distinguish diagnoses based on exact spelling.
Go.
But it goes further than human coders now. We have clinical informatics teams building natural language processing, or NLP, tools.
AI, basically.
Right, AI. These are software algorithms designed to read millions of patient records automatically to flag health risks, bill insurance, and conduct massive research studies.
So an algorithm is basically a computer trying to read the Lego instruction manual we talked about earlier. It's scanning the text, looking for specific blocks.
And a computer program doesn't have the intuition of a human nurse.
What do you mean?
Well, if a human sees the word gastroenteritis, but you accidentally left out the O and spelled it gastroenteritis, the human says, oh, I know what they meant.
Right.
The algorithm does not. The algorithm looks for the string, G-A-S-T-R-O. If the O is missing, the string breaks.
Wait, so a misspelled combining vowel could literally cause a software program to fail to recognize a diagnosis, which could lead to a denied insurance claim.
Absolutely. Software algorithms trip over combining vowel misspellings, just like first-year medical students do. The NLP software has to be explicitly coded by engineers to account for irregular Greco-Latin morphology because it doesn't follow ordinary English spelling patterns.
That is incredible.
The same root plus vowel logic that seemed like a dusty classroom rule from the 1960s is quietly being encoded into the artificial intelligence that processes global healthcare data today. Billions of dollars are tied up in this phonetic glue.
When you lay it out like that, the ultimate takeaway from these sources is deeply empowering.
I think so too.
Yes, medical jargon can look terrifying on the page, but by understanding the roots, the prefixes, the suffixes, and those vital little combining vowels that stitch them all together, you don't have to brute force memorize a medical dictionary. You can reverse engineer it.
You are shifting your brain from memorization to comprehension. You're learning the structural code of the language.
The next time you open an explanation of benefits and see a monstrous word like hepatosplenomegaly, you don't have to panic.
Not at all.
You can calmly look at it and break it down into its Lego pieces. Hepat/O, well, that's liver. Spleen/O, spleen. Megaly, enlargement.
Yeah.
The two O's are just the mortar, keeping the bricks apart so you can pronounce it. Boom. Simultaneous enlargement of the liver and spleen. You just decoded a word that used to look like an alien language.
That is the true power of the system. It completely demystifies the fortress of medicine.
Let's briefly recap the journey we've just been on. We started with the phonetic glue of the combining vowel, that little O that carries zero clinical meaning but holds the entire vocabulary together.
Right, and we explored the 3 golden rules. Keep it before a consonant suffix, drop it before a vowel suffixia, but always keep it between 2 VIP roots.
When we traced its lineage back 2,500 years to the ancient Greek O-stem declensions, showing how an organic linguistic fossil was repackaged into a 1960s programmed learning manual for mass education.
Which was a huge turning point.
We saw how that rigid standardization fights against the chaos of eponyms, securing a universal language for medical coding. And we learned how that exact same Greco-Latin morphology is currently dictating how modern AI software reads your health records.
It is a profoundly small vowel with an immense operational footprint.
It really is. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. We talked about that tension between eponyms, conditions named after people, like Parkinson's, and those long, highly descriptive, root-based Greco-Latin words.
The battle between historical labels and the combining forms.
Exactly. So the next time you hear a medical condition named after a person, ask yourself, what would the root-based combining vowel equivalent actually be?
That's a great exercise.
And consider this, while it might be harder to pronounce at first glance, would replacing that famous doctor's name with a structurally sound, descriptive compound word actually make the medical world more democratic? Would it make health information fundamentally more understandable for patients across the globe? It is definitely something to think about the next time you are staring down one of those terrifying discharge summaries, looking for the mortar between the bricks.